Welcome to How to Run Profitable Retreats. I am Lainey Cavazos, retreat strategist and host of the show for coaches, entrepreneurs, and transformational leaders who want to design retreats that actually make money. If you've ever put your heart into a retreat only to walk away exhausted or worse, broke, you are not alone. This podcast is here to change that. Each week, I'll bring you stories, strategies, and expert insights to help you create meaningful, transformational retreats that also support your business, your lifestyle, and your bottom line. Let's make your next retreat not just powerful, but profitable. Welcome back to How to Run Profitable Retreats. I am your host, Lainey Cavazos, and I'm so excited to have Marta Pizzirani today with me. She is a retreat planner in Italy, and she's dedicated to crafting the most stress-free, authentic, and tailored wellness retreats. And she guides retreat leaders through every step of the process, from selecting the ideal venue to creating a profitable and detailed retreat plan. By working with her, they enter a world of kindness, respect, and profound connection. Marta, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much, Lenny, for inviting me.
Yeah, so I'm so excited to have this conversation with you today because behind the scenes, we were talking about how actually getting a retreat planner, someone who will produce the retreat for you on a location, is so important, especially when you are going to a new destination. So if you're hosting international retreats or you want to host international retreats, this is a podcast you want to be listening to. So Marta, would you tell us a little bit about what are the things that you see the most that people need when they're thinking about hosting an international retreat? They want to go to a new amazing location like Italy and they want to host a retreat, but they don't want to be the ones taking care of every single detail.
Yeah, so I'm speaking about Italy in specific, and I think that when you organize a retreat in Italy, but you live somewhere very far away, you end up searching venues and infos on Google, on internet. And so you end up in very touristic trap, meaning that you might find activities just because there are more sponsors on the internet, but they're not, and they're there for you to find out about them. So they are for tourists, and they're not the local authentic experience that Italians will go to. And the same thing is for venues. If you are lucky enough to visit Italy and visit the location in person, that's great. But what I offer here is deep knowledge of the entire territory of Italy. So from north to the south, I personally scout every location. So based on your needs, you might need a specific location, or based on the theme of your retreat, I can suggest you this location is better in this season. This location is better during this holiday season for X reason, etc., etc. So when I see international retreat leaders organizing their retreat alone, that's the first issue that they end up when I see on Instagram, for example, people posting, we are on our Italian retreat and we are eating the best gelato in Rome, and then I see the ice cream shop and I was like, no, this is just tourist trap. I mean, I'm happy that you like it. I'm super happy that you like it, but there is even a better one. That shop is just there to sell to tourists. It's not where Italians will go eat their ice cream, and so on and so on and so on. And
my sister-in-law and my nephew, they live in Florence, right? So
I'm from Florence.
You're in Florence? Oh, I love it. Yeah, I love Florence.
I'm from Florence.
I spent there some time taking some drawing courses and whatnot while we were visiting them. And I remember he's 11 years old. And I told him, I want some gelato. And he was
Lainey, I'm going to take you to the best gelato where Italians actually eat gelato because everything else is a tourist trap.
Yeah, Florence is very touristic, so you might pay a lot of attention. What else? Even the language, it's a barrier. I believe and I think that English is commonly used all over the world to connect different countries. But let's say that Italians, they tell you that they speak English, and they do, but they think that their level is this high, but in reality is this high, this low. And so when you ask, like, it happened to me, like I was booking wine tasting for a group, and I asked them, do you speak English? And they were like, yes, of course. Like, that it was rude for me to ask. And I was there, I was talking to them in Italian. I cannot test them on their English. And I was like, okay, I trust you if you say that you can handle 12 women, Americans women in English, that's totally fine. So the day we went to the wine tasting, the sommelier, the person was showing the wines, and they were like, okay, girls, benvenuti, welcome. And this is the bottle of wine, vino. And I was like, this level of English is like, and he was like, can you help me translating this? How do you say barrel in English? And I was like, yeah, okay. How do you say this? How do you say that? So basically, I did the translator for the wine tasting. And this is good for my groups because I'm always there taking care of them if any problem like this arise. But if you are alone and you book such an activities by yourself, they tells you, yes, we speak English, you arrive there, what happened then?
Right, yes.
You may even think that they are, sometimes there is miscommunication because they speaks to you in English, but their English is basic. And so it may appears that they are rude, but they are not. It's just that their vocabulary is limited. And so they're not able to articulate the sentence, and they might seem rude. And so you get, you're feeling are like, oh, this person, I'm paying this person and they're rude to me. There is no customer service, blah, blah, blah. And the relationship might end. Instead, it's nice to have a person that can link, between the languages. I have so many examples.
Of course. Yeah, no, what I'm really hearing here is that having someone who knows the area, who knows the culture, who knows the language barriers, that understands everything, that can hold your vision, right? The vision for your retreat, that knows exactly what you want, what you're looking for, and they can ensure that it is happening. And I also see it very much for troubleshooting, right? Like we host private retreats here in Mexico. And yes, there is a lot of people who speak English. Don't get me wrong, there is. But sometimes there are, like, let's say maybe their vendor does, but then the person that comes and is driving you does not, right? So let's think about a driver, like a chauffeur that picks you up at the airport, and then they don't speak English. So the person you had the communications with and you booked the service with does, but then the person who's actually doing it doesn't. It happened to me also in India. We had our driver, but then we had a translator for the driver, right? Because if not, it's impossible to communicate. And when you're hosting a retreat, you want to make sure that the experience is as seamless as possible for the people who are coming, especially if you're traveling across the world, right? A lot of women have not traveled outside of the US, right? Or outside of their countries. It's the first time, and they might need a little bit extra support when it comes to knowing that they're safe, basically.
Safe, and also I will say that I want to experience a deeper level of culture, of tradition, of community here, because Retreats are a very demanding business. It's a very growing business. So you can see tons and tons of retreats. And most of the retreats that I see that have been organized in Italy are like, come to Italy with me. It's going to be pizza, pasta, and wine. You know, what you expect. And that could be, yes, the surface level. You know, as a tourist, you come, you visit Rome, Florence, Venice, and then you go home. You know, that's the surface level of knowledge, Italian knowledge. Since I'm a local here, I want you to experience more, to go deeper, to really connect it to the root and not just stay on the surface. And I feel pretty lucky that living here, I'm able to continuously growing my network of professionals, vetted suppliers around, knowing what's working, what's not working, having feedback continuously. And so I'm always stay up to date. So when people come, there might be a new location, another one that maybe has just closed, you know, and all this stuff. It's the communication, the information, everything is faster.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned faster, and it feels more seamless in the process. That's your expertise, right? You're spending all your time growing your network, getting the clients, getting the castles, getting right the villas, everything. I mean, it's more villas than castles, I guess, in Italy. But you're getting the villas, you're getting you know the chefs, you know the culture, you know so many pieces. And a person who wants to host an international retreat in Italy, but they have so many other things going on in their business, they won't have the same amount of time that you do.
Or they might decide to spend time in creating the retreat, but in this way, they're not focusing on their core business. Mm-hmm. That it's not planning. If you're a yoga teacher, you might have a yoga studio to run, you know, your community for gatherings, etc., etc. So so stay focused on your core, and we definitely help each other. Yes.
Yeah, I think this really makes a lot of sense, especially when we're stepping into the luxury space. And by luxury, I mean, we do not mean just, the fanciest hotel, but it's about the luxury of the experience, right? Having someone who can help you, like you were mentioning, as a concierge, right? Someone who is there to support you through the process. So you as a coach, as a yoga teacher, as a consultant, right, a business owner that hosts retreats, can really focus on your genius that is actually hosting the retreat, that is actually taking people through the transformation rather than focusing on the details.
Exactly. I have a couple of clients who works with me, and they are very successful retreat leaders. And they contact me because they said, Marta, I cannot, or I don't want to handle all the details by myself anymore. It's too stressful. It's too demanding. The service is not the same, because if you are growing, if you're being successful, then you have to answer tons and tons of requests of your emails, coordinating all the vendors. Instead, they want to focus on their work and delegating the retreat planning. So even, if you are a very successful retreat leaders, you have been running retreat for 10 years, for example, so you know how to do it. It's not that you might be.
You could do it, right? It's not about if you can or not, but do you want to?
Exactly. So yeah.
From people that you've seen that have gone to Italy and done the retreats on themselves, what is the most common things that you see that could be avoided?
couple of ideas in mind. The first one is the venue. So I see a lot of people who books private villas or Airbnbs. Some of them, they might not be even legally authorized to host events. You know, it's a private location. They don't have the amenities to host a retreat, because if you book a beautiful castle or a beautiful villa that runs weddings, it could be beautiful, but it's a different a retreat has different needs, need different amenities, and so then they're struggling with the space for practicing yoga, the equipment. I saw some of them who juggle between preparing the yoga session and then cooking for the group, and so you are not paying attention and focusing on the experience, the group. Instead, you're even when you are teaching the lesson, you're thinking about the grocery list or whatever comes next. So you are not really there with your mind. So the venue it's a first issue, and then sometimes vendors, because if you find them online, that they might not deliver the service that you expected.
Yeah, a website does not mean the service, like the delivery is actually going to be what you ask for. Yes, I've seen that, even knowing sometimes the vendors, right? Like working with them for years, and then suddenly something changes and they're not as good anymore. And you're like, well, but they were great. What happened here? So I really, really see it. And I'll give everyone who's listening to this an example. So we hosted a retreat in San Miguel de Allende in Mexico. It was in an estate that actually had, it was like an Italian estate in Mexico. It had a vineyard, right? Beautiful, beautiful property. And their retreat actually included a massage because it was part of their journey. They needed to have this moment where they could really relax and whatnot. So it was a new location for me in a sense of some of the facilitators. So what I had to do actually is I moved there for a month before the retreat, and I tested all the different masseurs. I tested like around 8 people to find 2 that were good, so that I could have.
That's a hard job. Trying like
I know I suffered so much.
Massages, like bring them in.
Yeah, but we did the same with the chefs, right? I did the same with other facilitators that we brought. We took them to some hot springs. So there's a couple of hot springs in the area. So I went and I checked out the different hot springs to know which one I wanted to take them to because of what we were looking for, right? We were hosting a sweat lodge at 4 in the morning. So we had to find a sweat lodge that would open up for us at 4 in the morning. That's not normal, right? That's outside of the scope, but it was very important for this retreat that it happened at that time on that day because we had the spring equinox. So those things, because I was doing all the planning and the logistics for it, I was able to go there and I was still working and I was doing all these things, but I'm based in Mexico. Imagine someone who is from the US and they would have to go do this same because you want to provide a luxury experience for your attendees. You would need to move for 1 month at least to Italy. And I mean, nothing wrong with that, but I mean, I would love to do it for sure. But why do that if you can actually get someone in the location where you want to host that retreat to help you out, sort out all the details. And then of course, you can add some extra massages. So you still get your massages in space during the event, right?
And the question that I get asked more frequently is, when should I host my retreat? And this, I think, it's part of the knowledge that I want to offer them, meaning that depends on, because you can at the end you can use, I don't know, AI, whatever it's now on internet, to ask this question. But it really depends, because there are some. Italy is completely different from north to south, so we have very different microclimates, and it depends on the type of retreat. So when you come to me, I listen to your needs, and we envision a retreat, and I also offer you like the best location. Not even in, I want to do in Tuscany, okay, but there are different settings, landscape in Tuscany. We have snow, rolling hills, and seaside, all in one region in Tuscany.
Yeah.
So it's really important that, I mean, they can study the geography of Italy, but it will require a lot of time, and so we go over all their needs, and based on that, having someone local who can give you suggestion on the region, the season, the week. Like, don't come this week because there is such a big holiday in Italy. There's gonna be crowds here, traffic here, blah blah blah, and this kind of stuff. Last year we had a very important, the Jubilee, which is the most important event for the Catholic Church, and so Rome was red zone. But if you're not here, or if you're not a very Catholic person, you might not know that. And so you were wondering why flights in Italy for June 2025 are so expensive. Why I cannot find anything in Rome. That's why.
Yes, and you bring a very, very important topic right now, because I was teaching a class on, mapping your annual calendar and the hot seasons and peak seasons. And anyway, I have my whole method, and some people were asking about Europe, and I said Europe is very different than if you do it on this side of the continent, in this continent, in the American continent. So you need to consider, because sometimes you might be able to run a retreat in Italy in March, but if you're doing it in Scandinavia, you're still not
Exactly.
good. It's still not a good date, right? So there's all these things that we need to consider. And I know you mentioned, like, people checking in AI, and I've done research about like peak seasons and whatnot for retreats for over 5 years, and they stay kind of the same in a sense. But I did the test, and I actually asked AI for the seasons for retreats and this and that, not. And it gave me wrong information.
Yeah.
It gave me the wrong seasons. So
I
do not
did it too.
recommend anyone to make decisions based on what AI is telling you, because my business partner for the other business, she was like, oh, I want to check in AI what it says, and it says this, and I was like, that's wrong, like 100% wrong. There is no way these are like the seasons, based on so many retreat leaders that I work with, and all the retreat leaders that I interview, and like podcast guests and whatnot. We're always collecting knowledge and information from everyone. And I was like, no, AI does not know it. So everyone who's listening, please do not go and choose your dates based on what AI is telling you.
Yeah, I did that too, and it wasn't wrong. Let's just say that it said 30%. It gave you the 30% of information, and so 70% was missing. It was very generic answer, and I was like, there's so many shadows and different side of it, because it depends where you do it. Because as you said, in the north might be different from the south, so not the same month can work well if you can work the same in two different regions.
Yeah, for example, I always say that unless you're an experienced retreat host that already has a big audience, you should not be hosting retreats in January anywhere in the world except Australia. Because in Australia it works because they're in the summer.
Yeah.
So it's the perfect weather for people to do it. So retreats actually do sell in January. regardless of being the season where everyone has already spent so much money during the holidays that they don't have the budget. And even during your marketing campaign, that even if you start 6 months before, people are thinking about, oh, you know, so, okay, so I'm going to explain this a little bit deeper for everyone who's listening. So when you have a marketing campaign and you have your buyers, you have people who are early risers. So they will say yes to retreat early on the process when you say that. But there is also this big market trend of people actually purchasing retreats closer to the date. So then if you're hosting in January, that means all those people who are making decisions in December are really focused on the holidays, on buying gifts, on spending time with the family. Their budgets are lower because it's the end of the year, whatnot. So you're taking out all those late purchasers out of your equation. So it makes it harder for you to sell.
Yeah.
Now, I always also talk about how retreats for New Year's are absolutely amazing. They perform very well, but everyone is a late buyer. So we run this New Year's retreat every year in my family's retreat center here in Mexico. And it's the 5th year that it's being hosted. And I'm always there and I teach some workshops inside of it. Guess what? By the first week of December, usually there's 2 people that have signed up. 2 people. And usually the retreat ends up with either between 15 to 30 people signing up. That shows you how late purchasers people are when it comes to a New Year's retreat. So it works, but you need to hold steady. You cannot drop your confidence or your marketing materials or promoting the retreat. And that's what happens to a lot of people. I see it. They're like, oh, I put a retreat for New Year's, but it's like October and it's not selling and I need to see if I cancel the venue. I'm like, well, if you stick to it, it will sell, but you need to stick to it. It's not as simple as just like, oh, well, because no one is buying, but there's a lot more financial pressure because you need to just basically, it really feels like a gamble.
Yeah.
I lose everything when people actually sign up. But this is a retreat that is perfect for late purchasers. That's it. And it's at least for me, it's the only one I've seen that behaves like this. These dates are the only ones in the year that behave like this.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, anyway, I could talk about this all day long, but Marta, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your knowledge. Now, for everyone who's listening, now you know that if you want to host retreats in Italy, you want to talk to Marta, okay? I've been following her for a while and I love what she does, the quality of her retreats. And then I sent her a message like, I want you to come and be a guest on my podcast because people need to hear about this.
The love is mutual.
I love it. So everyone who's here, please make sure you go and talk to Marta. So Marta, where can people find you? What's the best way to reach out to you?
I will say Instagram, Grapefruit Retreats. It's my account, so you can have a sneak peek into my work, the venues that I visit, and message me. Definitely, yes. So
perfect. Well, thank you everyone for listening to this episode. And well, I do have a very, very quick announcement for all of you who are listening. We are hosting the Sellout Retreat Summit in Mexico in September in 2026. So if you want to come and spend time with other amazing women retreat leaders and hear from industry experts when it comes to hosting retreats, what you need to do, we have some amazing keynote speakers that are going to be on this space. We're going to be doing it in a hotel that has a retreat center inside of it. So in the beautiful mountains of Tepoztlan. So if this is something that calls you and you're like, ooh, I do not want to build on this journey alone, I invite you to sign up and join us in Mexico. You can find the link in the show notes. And I can't wait to see all of you in person because I'll be speaking there I'll be hosting some workshops. We're going to get to have a lot of fun, networking events and whatnot. So we get to meet in person. So who wants to come and meet me in Mexico? Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much, Marta, for being here. And
Thank you,
I'll see you. Yes. And I'll see you all next week.